Welcome to the Real Estate Agent's Guide to Social Media Success. We are your hosts, Josie Ambrose and Carissa Mason. We're excited to dive in today to give you several of our social media tips and tricks to help you get posting like a boss and actually start generating some leads and engagement on your social pages. So first, we're just going to do our little introductions. So, like it said, I'm Josie Ambrose. I am based in Connecticut. I'm one of the coaches of the Real Estate Operations Institute. I am locally a director of operations for a top producing team here in Connecticut, as well as a operations and business coach in the area.
And I'm Carissa Mason. I am in Georgia and I am the broker. I'm one of the brokers for our brokerage down here in Georgia. I have a coaching business that I also coach for operations and some agents for production. And we love doing this for you guys. So we're super excited that you're here to join us because this is a huge part of your business.
So today's agenda, we're going to be understanding the power of socials in real estate, right? This is can be helpful for a lot of different entrepreneurs, but we're very specifically focusing on real estate entrepreneurs today. Who's your avatar? Getting to know your audience and how to identify them, right? The major social platforms, what to post, the four content pillars, tips for writing captions, some simple do's and don'ts of posting, different suggested tools and apps, and then just kind of some final wrap-ups.
Okay, so the power of socials, this is huge in your business. So your social strategy is going to look different if you are an influencer versus celebrity, an athlete, real estate agent. So what you see on social media, maybe you don't want to duplicate exactly if you're looking at an athlete or someone who is selling perfume. So this is why it's really important to really narrow down credibility, visibility, what they're looking for, social proof. What have you sold? What are you doing? What is your product? Your brand awareness, staying on top of mind, curating how you want people to think of you. Josie and my social media and Josie's social media look totally different because we live kind of different lifestyles. Even though we do the same thing, our lifestyles are different. So relate to your audience. No one wants to see just business. This is one of the biggest things that is a misconception. People want to see a little bit of who you are behind the curtain. Even if you're a private person, it's okay to like peek back a little bit and give them what you would be comfortable with. So if you are an avid athlete and you work out every day, it's okay to show them maybe you running in the morning or walking into the gym, whatever that is. If you bake, maybe you're, showing them taking some time off to throw some cookies together, and then generate leads. Likes matter. I think we talked about this in our last class is like, not everybody's going to hit that like, not everybody's going to hit that share. You're looking for those views, like who's actually seeing your content because that's what's going to convert, right? So if you are in front of 100 people, if you can convert a couple of those people to buy into who you are and your business, you've done what you needed to do. Obviously, the more the better, but having 3 million likes as opposed to one client that comes out of that, I would take the one client that comes out of it for sure.
I completely agree, right? The goal isn't necessarily to just go viral. Going viral is great, but if you don't actually ever get any business from it, then did it really like suit you, right? Support your business needs. And so definitely focusing on that consistency, you're going to hear us say that a lot, right? Being authentic, you're going to hear us say that a lot today as well. Those are some of the things that you really want to pay attention to. And then also just to reemphasize what she said about relating to your audience. I know there's a lot of people who aren't comfortable with social media. They're not comfortable with being on camera, for example, and you don't necessarily have to be on camera, right? You can do things like voiceovers. You can just put photos of yourself that you like and use those for your social media posting. There's a lot of different things which we're going to get into, but understanding the fact that people do want to know who they're doing business with beyond just the fact that it's someone who sells real estate, right?
100%.
So your social media is like a digital handshake, and we really love that expression. So just really make sure that you're making it count. So the first piece of that, right, when you're talking about, yes, you're in real estate, but you can still have different client profiles. So who's your avatar? Understanding things like demographics, their personality traits, their interests. This is something where I do like a brand and marketing strategy session, and I always dig into this question, and it really forces people to think outside the box, right? Because it's not necessarily about trying to exclude certain people, but you want to get very specific on who the client is that you truly want to do business with. Your ideal client. It doesn't mean that you're not willing to do business with, for example, maybe a first-time home buyer, but maybe your ideal client is that luxury move-up buyer, right? And so we've provided some sample questions to ask yourself to start to kind of dig into that, to really think about and actually answer those, write it down, make a profile for that avatar, that client for yourself. So, who has been your favorite client to date and why, right? How old are they? What do they do for a living, right? Literally, is it someone who's a banker versus is it someone maybe who's a teacher, right? Those can be different profiles as far as what their interests are, the type of places that they might hang out. Would they prefer a day at the beach or attending a crafts fair? Literally, what are their interests? What types of hobbies do they have? Are they a recent college graduate? Are they someone starting a family? Maybe growing a family, right? Or are they looking to downsize and relocate, right? Are you someone that wants to work with seniors, for example? Um, and then what are their actual real estate goals? Do they align with yours? So, like I said before, is it a first-time home buyer or is it maybe a luxury buyer? Is it an investor, right? Or you may be interested in just working with like commercial properties or fix and flips, right? There's plenty of different options when you're talking about the real estate space. And then we just want you to remember that you get to decide who you work with, right? But in order to attract them to your social media account, and to make sure that you're delivering the right type of messaging that that avatar would be interested in, you have to be able to define that avatar to begin with.
Exactly. And I really think this is one of the biggest pieces because remember why you got into this business. We want to enjoy what we do because if, I mean, you were just going to do the same thing that you didn't enjoy, you should have stayed. I'm not saying you should have, but like stay at your 9 to 5 and be miserable. Do something that you love. So if you do not enjoy working with investors, Josie already said, I'm not saying you're never going to, but don't make that your main focal point. So if you keep posting things about investment properties and showing dilapidated homes, that's who you're going to attract. So if you desire that connection and you want that more warm connection, you're going to want to put out, maybe you're part of mom groups and maybe you are wanting to connect with, if you're a single mom, you're going to, connect with single moms and show this is what I do on a daily, a day in the life of a single mom in the real estate industry because you want people to relate to you and that just like Josie said, that's who you're going to attract, what you put out there. So be sure you are very specific on this because you get to choose. Again, this is your business. Nobody else decided to do this besides you. So put what you desire out there and it will come back. So, top 5 social media platforms. Now, I don't know if y'all are surprised because a lot of people talk smack about Facebook, but if you look at this chart right here, Facebook is still the top. Not all platforms are used equally, so you have to understand why you're using it and what client is on there. So we just talked about your avatar. So figuring out where your avatar is living is really important. So even though I'm looking at this and I might be a millennial thinking Instagram is where I need to be because I'm a millennial. Yes, if I want to connect with other millennials, maybe that's it. But if I am looking to connect with, um, you know, people between the age of 30 and 65 who are maybe business owners who are I'm just narrowing it down. I might want to go to LinkedIn, even though that is the smallest on this chart. I may be looking for business owners who are professionals, doctors, lawyers, and maybe that's where I need to spend my time. But you can see right here, if you are looking for like a first time home buyer, you are probably going to want to narrow it down to like I'm going to say this, TikTok. I am not on TikTok, guys, at all. So, but TikTok, Instagram, that's where you're probably going to find most of your first time younger people, to be able to connect with them. And again, we're speaking their language. I don't know that I'm going to get on there and do a dance on TikTok, but maybe I'll repurpose my stuff that I would have put on Facebook and put on there. Uh, I'm not the biggest social media person. This is definitely Josie's jam, and I just listen to her guidance, and she does not do me wrong. So I am going to bounce it to her and let her talk a little bit deeper about this because, again, this is her jam, but you can clearly see you can't go wrong with Facebook and YouTube, obviously, if you're doing videos to double cross your postings just to make most of the work you're putting in. So if you're giving information post and it's something you put on YouTube, put it there. You never know who's going to stumble upon it.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to mention, right, that there's different types of posts. So there's literally what you can call a static post, right? So it's like one image with a caption underneath it. There's a carousel, so that's when you might see multiple images, even if it's at least two, right? But typically it's going to be like five or six or more different tiles, as I like to say, that you can scroll through carousel. And then there's reel, right? So short form video content. Reels right now are super popular. That's what, made TikTok kind of blow up in that space. And as much as Carissa was joking, right, TikTok has actually almost become like a Google. There's a lot of people who go there to research things that they might be looking for, whether it's recipes, whether it's information on buying or selling. And so understanding what the benefit of each platform is super important, right? So there's a lot of people who feel like Facebook is kind of the old guard, and yet Facebook's like, you could think what you want. We're still crushing it with our 3 billion plus users that we have, right? As the number one social media platform in the world, right? And they still have over 2 million active um, users every single day, besides their total in billions, right? And then YouTube being, like she said, the second largest platform. So YouTube is where you're actually going to do a lot more long form video content. So 30 minutes to an hour or more, right? But then they also came out with shorts to kind of not compete. I don't want to say compete, but to kind of match the fact that like these other platforms had something like a reel, right? And so your shorts are like 3 minutes or less on YouTube, where you can just give that quick information that people might want that quick follow up to look into, right? And so understanding each of these, like she said, LinkedIn, if you're trying to do something more in the business to business B2B space, then LinkedIn is great for those professionals. And just being able to remember that you don't need to be on all the things. I am also not on all the things, right? Like she said, you just really want to focus on being on one to two consistently that you can keep up with. So you can have an account personally on each platform, but you don't have to actively use them to try to generate business. So maybe you have all five of these accounts, and yet you only focus on getting business from, I don't know, YouTube and TikTok, for example. Then that's completely your right. As long as you're consistent and your activities are consistent and your followers know where to find you and what to expect from you, right? Then those are the kinds of things that really matter. And again, the avatar. So if your avatar is that I'm gonna say luxury user again, like where are they shopping, where are they hanging out, what social media platform are they on? Maybe they're on Instagram because they like looking at all the amazing luxury kitchens and bathrooms and things like that. Then you need to be on Instagram posting the kinds of things that they're gonna want to be seeing.
Right. And it's funny you said about the YouTube and TikTok, or you said TikTok being kind of the Google, because I do 100% it went off in my head when you said it. 100% when I'm looking for something, I don't post on TikTok like where I'm doing the dances, but I do go on there often to look up things that are happening now. It's almost like an instant Google. Like if you're looking for something like a viral recipe or something like that,
Mhm.
you're going to find it on there. And then YouTube, the same. It's videos. And I think our not just our generation, but this time we relate to those videos that talk about things and show us things instead of just reading it. So I think that's why those where you said the Google, it's the new Google, you're right, because I do it and I don't even realize it because I'm not posting on there. I'm not active on there, but I'm on it pretty often looking for things. So,
Right. You're not active personally, but you're active, right? And so that
right.
part. So if you were someone else's avatar, then they would need to know that like, yeah, Carissa, she's checking out TikTok. So let me make sure I'm giving content that she would be interested in looking at. So perfect point. Yeah. So we have some fun facts for you because these are important to know, right? We've already said Facebook is still the number one social media platform used worldwide, right? Keep that in mind. Number two, so we were just saying how TikTok was kind of like the new Google, but to be fair, which is not the facts posted, so YouTube has the highest activity for cell phone users, and we know that most of us are on our cell phones more than we're on a laptop, right, or a desktop. And besides the fact that they're the highest activity for mobile users, YouTube is actually the number two search engine in the world behind Google. So keep that in mind if you want YouTube to be a platform that you pour into. Education, right, is going to be a big thing for YouTube to be providing that value, to be that kind of subject matter expert. You want to show that skill through your YouTube channel.
I know I've said for years now, and that YouTube, if you're in an area, like be the local expert and go in the area, talk about different areas and restaurants and things like that, because I can't tell you how many realtors have come to me and told me that do that when people are moving from out of area, they found them on YouTube because they might have, my area is McDonough, they'll be like, McDonough, Georgia. And so if you have videos like McDonough Square, McDonough restaurants, McDonough schools, you are going to come up there. So guess what? When they're looking for a realtor, they're going to be like, oh, Carissa's the expert because she has like 97 videos on McDonough. So she knows everything about it. So that's who I'm going to. So think about that in that aspect. Oh, Pinterest. So Pinterest is an honorable mention. They weren't on the list where we had it all broken out, but they are one of the fastest growing platforms, which is strange to me too. And that's what I love about these classes is because we actually learn new things when we're teaching it. Pinterest has been around forever. I mean, I went and looked at my Pinterest board and I think I signed up for Pinterest in like 2009. So it has been there forever. And now that, you know, I guess everybody is becoming visual people, instant people. Like they want people to carve out everything they want. So if I'm looking for kitchens, when you go on Pinterest, people already have boards made out and I'm like, oh, I don't have to reinvent it. I just look at it and keep going. So think about that kind of stuff when you are putting together, maybe a listing or, where you want to display your housing or some type of decor or areas, things like that. So don't think Pinterest is just crafting and bedazzling. It is not. It is far from it. There is boards for everything on there.
There really is. And if you're like a stager, then I would 100% say like that's an area where you can showcase your skills. You can drop links, right, to potential pieces that you love to use in some of your staging. So think outside the box in that way.
Because like you said just said too, we're in here to like educate people. So if you know what the colors are of 2025, like put together some Pinterest boards on some houses that have those colors because that's what people are looking for. They're looking for, oh, what's the latest and greatest? So if you're the person they go to for all that information, what's in, what's out, that type of stuff.
Another little fun fact. So people spend an average of 2 hours and 21 minutes every day on socials. I'm not gonna lie, I actually feel like so this data, we sourced it, right? It's from Hootsuite. I feel like that's low because I know, I mean, yes, we work in marketing, we're content creators, we teach and everything, but I feel like the people that we know, like, they're spending way more than only 2.5 hours on socials every day. And yet, even if that's what it is on average of the entire world, right? Let's to be fair, then if that's a couple hours, then just imagine how much you want to try to vie for their attention within that 2.5 hours where they're going to be scrolling, right? You want to stop the scroll is the expression that people tend to say.
Yep. And if you ever wonder what you are, go on your phone and it'll tell you how many hours you spend on each app. It breaks it down for you. So, and don't be shocked. That's all I'm going to say.
Hmm.
So, average engagement rate on social media is 1.4 to 2.8%. Now, that may not sound huge, but that's why consistency, in my opinion, is key. Because if you are only posting once per week on one platform and you're getting 1.4 to 2.8%, which, I mean, if you think about it, that's not super bad if there's hundreds upon hundreds of people posting in the groups that you're in. But the consistency is the key because you're going to show up every day. And if you get that engagement every day, who's going to win? You are literally up against all the people, like not just other realtors, not just other um TCs, not just other whatever you do in your business, because this is relatable in any business. You have to be up against everybody to get that algorithm to want to put you in front of more people. So um definitely consistency is key for sure.
Yeah. And I love how you said the algorithm because at the end of the day, the algorithm is the one that kind of controls who gets to see what. So just imagine if you had about 2,000 followers, right, on whatever platform, and you said 2% of that is about 40 people. So for average engagement rates, how can you try to convert even one out of those 40, right, potentially? And it doesn't mean again that they're not watching, but the ones who do click the likes, who do leave a comment, who save or share, things of that nature. And so that's why it's very important to be very intentional with the type of captions that you put, the type of call to actions that you put, right? Are you inviting them into the conversation, or are you just putting a post just to kind of say that you did? So speaking of being intentional, we are going to shift into breaking down the four content pillars for you so that you really understand, well, what is it that I am supposed to post so that I can try to get that 2%, 2.8% engagement rate, right? And so there's four buckets, if you will, that you're going to want to focus on week to week, month to month of different types of content. And so these aren't the themes, but think of this as the overarching pillars, right? So educate, entertain, engage, and advertise. Educate, just like we were talking about with YouTube, it applies across the board. Being that subject matter expert, giving, different like real estate tips, showcasing the fact that you are the authority, that you're confident in the message that you're delivering about real estate, explaining processes, like are you providing value to explain what's the home buying process or explain what's the pre-listing process to a seller to get their home ready to go on the market, different types of like Q&A and fact versus fiction, things of that nature. And then entertain. Now, it doesn't just mean dancing, right? But lighthearted content, just have fun with it. Let them see your personality kind of shine through using different trending reels and trending audio. And you can literally look on the app to see what's trending. So if you were trying to add audio, for example, there'll be a second tab where it shows you trending, and then scroll through that to find something that kind of feels like your vibe to attach to those reels. Like, use the tools that the apps are trying to give you because they want to help you increase your engagement so that they can try to help push you further in that algorithm, right? Behind the scenes type of content, that's what BTS stands for. So you'll see that a little bit throughout. So BTS, behind the scenes, that might be like you setting yourself up for the day. It might be you doing home tours, whatever kind of different behind the scenes things that you can just take footage of. And it can also be called B-roll footage, just having very quick, short, 6 second, 10-second clips or whatever of you kind of working, doing something. Um, might even be working in your car because we know how often realtors do that. And then appropriate humor, right? So just remember like that this is, if you're talking about engagement for business, what you post matters. And so, not trying to get like political or anything else. We are currently not trying to get political or anything else. You're welcome to do so on your pages, but just realize like what you post, whether it's humor, whether it's serious, right, is still being seen by all of your followers. So you don't necessarily want to alienate anyone unintentionally. And just be careful, right? You don't necessarily want to go on a long rant. If you had a really bad day, be vulnerable to show it. And yet, doesn't necessarily mean going on a rant on that agent who didn't return your phone call and kind of just being that person on social media because people are coming to be entertained. They're not necessarily coming to be dragged down by a Debbie Downer, right?
Yeah.
And then
Maybe think like how you can, I wanted to add to that, sorry. But think how you can remember entertaining is the lightheartedness of it. So if you did have a bad experience, how do you make humor out of it? Like, how do you, Josie is great for this because Josie will post, there's a video of her having like a horrible, I guess it was like a horrible day. She went to the office, she did this, she did, it was just like back to back, like she had to go to do print something. And so it's like, yeah, what she went through probably wasn't the best, but it's the day in the life and that's relatable. It's like how many days have you had where you're like, God, I feel that in my soul, but it's funny, because it's someone else. And so that's where you can post bad stuff, but just make it humorous so that people can relate and be like, okay, she's still alive and she went through this, so we're good.
Yeah, that was kind of a reference to Office Space. So if you're not familiar with the movie, go Google. Okay, Office Space, classic movie.
Classic.
And
Classic.
yet, towards the end, there's a printer scene, okay, where he goes ham. Okay, he just attacks this printer because he's over this printer. And so, for a lot of us, maybe that's more of a Gen X thing. But, we know that feeling of when our technology fails us and you just kind of want to take a hammer to your printer, to your laptop, or whatever the case is. And so, rather than just leaning on that frustration, making it humorous, like Carissa said, like just try to spin that because then that is how you become relatable. That's how you engage, right? So our next kind of pillar. So being vulnerable again and authentic, right? Just you can also show personal posts, lifestyle posts. There are some people, like Carissa said at the beginning, like understanding that maybe you don't necessarily want to show too much. Maybe you don't want to show your family on social media. But then maybe it's if you're a runner, if you have a pet, right? Carissa does a lot of really funny videos with her and her new dogs. And so letting people in enough so that they realize like you're a human too. You're out there doing your thing also. And favorite local spots that you like to go to, different ways to just kind of pull them into your world a little bit more, besides the fact that you buy and or sell real estate. And then building trust, connection, and relatability. Like that is the goal of when you're trying to engage. So when people are commenting, make sure you're commenting back, right? Make sure that you're engaging with other accounts as well on your social medias. And then the last piece is advertise. So the three E's and an A, right? Advertise is the lead gen aspect of it. You need to ask for the business. Yes, you can do the funny and you can educate and you can be engaging. And yet, if you don't, like I said before, give them that next step, if you don't put a call to action, CTA, right? Then maybe I don't necessarily know how to work with you. Like you're funny, you're engaging, if there's no link, if there's no invitation to DM you, then how do I work with you? Or maybe I take your information and I go find another realtor who has invited me in to have a consultation or to meet with them, right? So make sure you're asking for the business and giving them the instruction on how to get in touch with you. Property posts, like just listed and just sold. So these are things that are truly just business posts. You don't want to do all business, like we said, but you do want to do some business. You want to make sure that they remember that you actually are in real estate and not just that you are someone who is a great runner or whatever other stuff that you might be posting. And then testimonials. So why work with you? So testimonials, if you're a newer agent and you're like, I don't have any new clients yet, then that is totally fine. You can still get some character testimonials, right? Of people who know you from different jobs, maybe people who know you personally, and that can kind of testify, that can verify that you would be a great person to work with, right? And then use some of that to help bulk up your social media feed. And the same thing, if you don't have just listed and just sold because you're a brand new agent, but you can still take, some video potentially, depending on your area. Make sure you pay attention to your local rules, right? Of property tours. You can still let people know what is the activities that you're doing within the real estate space. You can showcase potentially listings in your office if you don't have your own, right? So there's some workarounds. You just need to make sure that you talk to your broker again to see like what's allowed within your area.
Right. And that's key is a lot of people don't realize the brokerage actually owns the listing and the client. So it's typically okay. So that's when Josie said ask your broker. Most agents will be okay with you sharing. Still ask for permission for ethical reasons. You know, we're in a small industry, but most agents are going to love the fact that you're promoting their listing. You just give them, the shout out on there. It is your brokerage, so, exclusively listed by XYZ, and then put that agent's name in there. But put stuff out there, guys, even if you feel like you have nothing. The whole point in the three E's is the A. So you're putting all that together to put the puzzle in front of the person so they have no choice but to work with you because they've connected with you and now they have the direction. If they're missing the piece on how to work with you, just like Josie said, they're going to take all three of those E's and be like, oh, she's a good person, but I'm going to go work with Jane Smith over here because Jane Smith told me how to get in touch with her, told me what she does. You know, you have to be clear on that. And testimonials, this is a big one too. How many of y'all go out to, I'm going to use the Sheen, okay? Go on to Sheen and it has like 5 stars, right? And we all know that people get points, I guess, for giving good stars. But what you do is you look at the rating, like the actual what people are writing about it, because that's where you're going to dig into it and say, okay, they gave it 5 stars because they're getting this, but they're saying it fits small. It smells weird. It shrunk when I washed it. So that's how you're choosing what you're buying. How do you think people are choosing who they're working with to make the largest purchase of their lives? They're reading that stuff. That really truly does matter. So make sure you are not forgetting to ask for people to talk about who you are, your character. Don't feel like it's putting a burden on them. People want to help you. They really do. So just ask for it.
Yeah,
Okay. We got to the free content resources. We put this in the middle so that if you guys were getting overwhelmed with all this information, we could reassure you that once you guys are done with this, we have given you some amazing resources to hit the ground running if you don't know where to start. So we are giving you 25 social media marketing templates. They're all done for you. You have to just tweak them to you. So putting your information, your picture, they're in Canva. So you'll just have to, some of them do require or may require a pro account, but most people have it. And if you don't get it, again, Canva, if you're watching this, you need to be paying Josie and I because we tell everybody the same thing because it works. It really does. You can do everything on it. The 90-day content calendar worksheet. It is going to give you all the ideas. It is going to literally take the thought process out of what you need to do next, guys. You have no excuse. Like after this class, you have no excuse to not start posting because you will have all of the resources at your fingertips. You just have to take the action. We have 1, 2, 3. We always talk about the 4 steps. We're in 1, 2, 3. You just have to step into 4, right? 100 call to actions. We just talked about how these call to actions and telling people what the next step is so important because truth be told, I'm not saying everybody doesn't know, but we have to assume they don't know because they're watching and doom scrolling all day long, and you need to tell them what to do next. Take the guesswork out of it. We're going to give you 100 of those to start with, and then also speaking of starters, the caption starters. Like, okay, so I have this video. I talk about the video I just posted, walking my dog. I'm like, how do I relate this to real estate? Well, if you see the struggle of, if you guys go watch that video, the struggle of me trying to walk Chanel, that's how we feel in this industry sometimes. It's a struggle. Like we go through it and then like I walk her and I'm like, I don't want to do this again. I don't. Like she's tripping me, I'm falling. Guys, I used caption starters to initial and put that up and use it as a post to relate it to what I do every day with agents. So don't think anything. I mean, you probably have a video in your phone right now that you can use a caption starter and a call to action. And one of the um, the social media marketing templates, just plug and chug. So we wanted to give that to you guys because we know that this is a huge hindrance and challenge for a lot of us out there because we're busy with everything else. So for taking the time and watching our class, we wanted to reward you.
Absolutely. And I am so excited about these resources. I really want to emphasize the 90-day content calendar worksheet. The reason we called it a worksheet, right? We're actually giving you an Excel spreadsheet, not just a PDF. So it's editable. You can customize it if you want once you make a copy of it, right? It's giving you all 7 days of the week. Your Saturdays, it'll say optional, right? If you wanted to do like open house type content or home tours, your Sundays, you can either skip or maybe do some kind of reflection or, family related type posts, right? Literally, it's giving you the theme and then it's giving you the sample idea. So, like, share the number one thing that you wish every home buyer could know before starting their search, right? There's also going to be a column so that if you wanted, you can just drop the link. So if you have like a marketing person, for example, they can create, the Canva graphic or whatever it is, drop the link right in the calendar. And then there's a status column so that you can put if it's in progress, did it get published, right? Or hasn't started yet, whatever the case is. So literally, this is something for the next 3 months worth of content that you can use, and then you can change it from there. You can just start to implement, change up the sample ideas, right? Use those caption starters, like Carissa was saying, to help you start to draft those. So literally giving you a usable document that you will be able to implement in your business. Systems is what we do, and we're giving you an entire social systems toolkit.
Yep. And she said, you can tweak it, but truth be told, guys, this is 90 days. There's no reason you can't rinse and repeat. 90 days is a long time. Most people are not going to remember that you posted a first-time home buyer tip 90 days ago. So,
It's very true. All right, now let's dig into some caption tips, right? So we're telling you all of these other things. We're giving you some caption starters, and yet, it's impossible for us to provide, for example, complete captions for you because they do need to be specific to you, your area, your style of speech, right? So you can use AI, for example, to help you draft captions. We go to ChatGPT sometimes if we're just kind of stuck on words, and yet you still have to customize it to personalize it and make sure that it does sound like you. So some caption tips to kind of help you get going. Start with a hook, right? So a hook is typically going to be what's that question or what's that statement that's going to grab people's attention. For example, I did a hook that said, you're self-sabotaging yourself without even realizing it. And the amount of people that paused, whether because they felt like, dang, that does sound like me, or they were like, wait, what do you mean? Like, how might I be self-sabotaging myself? But that was one that just really grabbed people's attention, right? And got strong engagement. So that is what we're saying when we say start with a hook, right? Storytelling. If you haven't heard this before, storytelling holds a lot of attention. It is a great way to engage people in your caption. So if you're talking about someone who just went under contract for, a purchase, but telling the story, not just, yay, I got someone under contract, look at me, but hey, I got someone under contract and they were able to save $25,000 with, our first time buyer grant. And, we did a consultation or we saw 12 houses before they found the right one. Like pull people into that story of the post, right? To really get them engaged. And with a call to action, we can't say it enough. So a call to action doesn't necessarily just have to be like schedule a consultation, right? There are different things. You can ask a question, you can do a poll, but just some way that you want them to kind of be able to know, okay, I've read the post, I watched the reel, what do I do next, right? Maybe it's a certain comment that you want them to leave. Maybe it is that you want them to get in touch with you. So best times. So this is going to be like, you can look this up all day long, right? And there's going to be 1,000 different suggestions. However, real estate specific, right? When you think about who, for the most part, you're going to be targeting. Your best times are going to be that first thing in the morning, right? Because it is typically someone who's in a professional space. They're getting up for work. So hitting them that first thing in the morning where they're kind of getting ready. We all know, bad habit though it might be, you wake up and you usually reach for that phone and you probably either check your email or you pop into your socials, right? And then the other one is that lunch time frame. So we put like 11:30 to 2. So generally it'll vary from day to day, but generally speaking, between 7 to 9 and 11:30 to 2 would be our best recommended times. Um, and even for the 11:30, like it's really like the lunch, like noon to 2, for example, noon to 1:30. But you kind of want to post just before that peak time so that you're not necessarily competing with everybody else who is also posting at that peak time. So sneaking your post in 30 minutes, 15 minutes right before that peak time. So really 9 a.m., right, is kind of more of that peak between 8 and 9. So if you're getting your post in at 7:30 or maybe 8:45, it just depends, right? There is no necessary right or wrong, but you do want to pay attention to your insights. So every app is going to have an insight section that will tell you when are your followers most engaged with your account and what are typically the peak times that they're active on your on socials, right? And then using line breaks. So literally, if you look at a lot of captions from a lot of more successful pages, then you'll see that it's not one running paragraph, right? It's going to be sentence break, right? So that's what it means by line breaks, because visually for us as users, if we see something that looks like a book, we're probably not reading it, honestly. Maybe we'll look for a call to action all the way at the bottom, or we just like, okay, this is cute, on to the next one, right? But when you can kind of break it up, almost kind of part of that storytelling, like what is she saying throughout? What is he saying throughout? Then that just kind of helps keep the user engaged. Don't be afraid of emojis. So this is one where I've heard it a few times. There's some people who are like, well, it might not look professional if I have a bunch of emojis in my thing. Don't be afraid of emojis. If it's part of your personality style, then lean into them. Be authentic, just like you're talking to a friend. And so it's okay if you mess up. It's okay if your words aren't perfect, right? Our words aren't perfect teaching this class even, and yet we are authentic. It is, you get what you see, right? And so when you're doing a reel, don't feel like it has to be perfectly scripted. If you're doing a quick video, don't feel like you have to have makeup on and you need to be looking your best, right? Just be real and teach it as if, treat it as if you were just talking to a friend on the other end of the phone, or maybe doing like a quick WhatsApp video chat with somebody, right? And then engage through questions and polls, right? So whether it's in the post, the caption, or even in the comments now, at least on Instagram, right? You can do polls within the comment part to just try to engage users that way. So like this or that posts, things like that. And then don't overthink it, right? At the end of the day, that consistency piece is what you're looking for. Not everything is going to be perfect. Not everything is going to go viral. You never really know just how much people are paying attention to you, though. I don't know how many people have come up to me and say, I see you all the time. I love your videos and this and that. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you. And I pay attention to who like engages, right, with my accounts. I'm like, this person has never liked my video. They've never commented, but it doesn't mean that they're not paying attention, right? So that's always the reminder for me. And I'm so grateful when people tell me that, because it reminds me that they are paying attention. All the more reason, don't be the Debbie Downer, right? Be careful what you post and don't overthink it. Just run with it. And if you do a post that flops, it's okay. Just focus on doing the next one better.
Exactly. Awesome. I couldn't have said anything different because it's true. It's just show up. Show up.
Hmm.
So, let's talk about reels. So, if you don't know what a reel is, it is a short video that it typically has, I mean, not all the time, not all of them have music, but words, music, something in there, but it's just a video and it's quick. It's not like a 20-minute educational video. But they don't have to be cringe. So I know Josie put this on this slide, but what we mean about cringe is like she did put the picture of the people dancing. It doesn't need to have, you don't need to have like a crew of people in the background doing a viral dance for you to talk about your upcoming listing. You really don't, guys. Back to what Josie just said, make it authentic, be yourself, have like conversations like you're talking to a friend. If that's not what you would do, don't post it, but post stuff that relates to you. But when you're doing those reels, you can absolutely use trending audio, um, because what that does is that's what's going to come up in, we call the algorithm, because it's trending. So, and Josie did mention earlier that it shows you what's trending on not TikTok, on Instagram. It has the little up arrow, or I think it's like a sideways up arrow or something like that. So listen to some of them. Listen to them though, guys, because some of them are not what you would think they are. Some of them have cursing. So if that's not your thing, listen to some of the lyrics and stuff like that. Drop the hook in the first couple of seconds that you are doing it. So whether if it is no words, like if you're not speaking on it, like you can do the captions, which she has right underneath there is the captions, but drop something in there so they know what it's about. It's not just me posting like the one with Chanel. I didn't just post a picture of me walking with her or a video of me walking with her. It was immediately a voiceover with me talking about, this is what you see, right? And then the closed captions text overlays. So if you can do closed captions, 100% do that because um, guess what? Most people are watching these videos. I hate to even say it, but they're in meetings, right? Like you're in a meeting and you're doom scrolling and you want to know what's going on in the video, but you can't put it on because your boss is talking or your team leader is talking or whatever the heck it is. So you can read it at least. And then text overlays, obviously, that's going to help with, anything you want to talk about or highlight in that video. The reels under 10 seconds typically get further reach for obvious reasons because we all know that we're a generation of that instant gratification. We want quick to the point, on to the next. So if you didn't catch my attention within the first couple of seconds, I'm like swipe, swipe. So make sure that whatever is important, that's why it's important to get it out quick and make it as concise as possible so that you get what you want out there. Add audio to photo slideshows to mimic a reel. This is one of my favorites because I am the worst with taking videos. I will say that, and Josie can like co-sign that for me because I am. But I will take some of my like still shots and make a reel out of it and blend it together and put some cool music to it, trending music, voiceover. I actually like the voiceover. I did it the other day and I was like, "Ooh, I can do that because I don't have to be in the camera." So definitely don't sleep on just putting some of your static photos into a reel. And you don't have to, we just mentioned it earlier, you don't have to dance to be engaging. You don't. You don't at all. Just educate, provide value, and be yourself. Pick up the camera, put it in front of your face, talk, and be engaging though. Like if I was gonna talk to Josie like this, and be that person on there, because this all relates back to you attracting who you want to attract. So, and don't think that you can't reuse ideas. I just if there's a word for it, Josie, what's the word? You said it was called
Repurpose?
remix on there.
Mhm.
So we used an old video and remixed it. And you can do the same for static posts. So if I had just a screenshot or just a post, just a static post, and I wanted to do a voiceover on it to talk a little bit further about it, I can absolutely do that. And so now I just use one piece of content and just repurposed it into either a voiceover or a carousel of something like that. So don't think a reel has to be this dancing video because it does not. It could be anything you want it to be, but just use these tips to make yourself successful when doing it so you don't get overwhelmed and not do it anymore because that's what happens. We get overwhelmed and think it has to be everything. It doesn't.
Absolutely. And so here's just some big picture posting do's and don'ts, right? So do show your face and voice. So remember, people want to do business with you, not just the 30 houses that you've sold, right? And so they want to be able to know what you look like, hear what you sound like. Monitor your insights. We've said it several times, but your insights really will tell you things like, trending, you can look up some trending information there, but also like when are your users engaging, which of your posts like were most popular. So when we're talking about repurpose and reusing, right, you can go back and kind of redo some of the most popular posts that got a lot of engagement. So there's a lot of different insights that you can use to help make sure that you're doing the right kind of business. Using a mix of hashtags, right? So we didn't get too much into hashtags. Hashtags is something that is recommended to still use. On Instagram, for example, you can do up to 30. Would not recommend that. And yet doing your top hashtags, some that are specific to you, right? So maybe some branding. So like for our real estate team here in Connecticut, I created hashtag your favorite CT realtor team or your favorite CT realtor years ago when it was just me and my one agent, right, at the time. And then now that hashtag has become quite popular, right? And so you want some personal to you, you want some specific to like the industry, right? And then just some other general popular hashtags that would make sense to use. And that could be something that AI can actually help you with. If you're not really sure what type of hashtags to use, go there and ask for some input. Repurposing content, we just talked about that, remixing and all of that. So repurposing could be like maybe you did a reel for your, Instagram or TikTok, and then it dawned on you later, like, oh, I could have put this as a short on YouTube as well. Go repurpose it. Go put it on YouTube. Go use it in your newsletter, right? Repurpose it, use it in different ways. And then adjusting the posts and captions to match the platform. That's a really big one. So the way that you're going to write, for example, on Instagram is not necessarily the same way that you're going to write on LinkedIn, right? And so make sure that you are paying attention to what's the style of information, what's the style of writing that is getting the most engagement on each of the different platforms. And then some don'ts. Okay. So don't forget to engage your followers, right? It's not just about you. You also want to make sure that you're liking and commenting and sharing posts from other users, right? Regularly. You can do it before and after your own posts, right? That's one thing that they suggest. As long as you're doing it consistently, daily, a couple times a week, whatever the case is. Don't skip writing captions. So that one sometimes I can only assume it happens by accident, but maybe not, right? You don't want to post like an image with no words, no caption underneath, because then I'm like, oh, okay, this is a nice image of a beach. I don't know what the point of this post was, right? And then it just seems off. So make sure that it could be a quick sentence or a quick few words, but make sure that there's always a caption underneath your posts. Don't steal others' content. It's one thing to be inspired and to try to, R&D, rip off and duplicate, recreate for yourself, and yet you don't necessarily want to do exactly the same. You don't want to steal other people's uh, captions, for example. The algorithm actually can catch that too, and those kinds of things can hurt your engagement. Don't only post hard sells. So when we talked about call to actions, that call to action every time shouldn't be schedule me for, or, contact me for a consultation, contact me for a consultation, contact me to do business, right? You also want to do things like to tag a friend, tag a follower who needs to read this, whatever different types of alternative type of captions and CTAs that you can use. And then also don't delete the low performing posts. We talked a little bit about that before. Even if you don't get a lot of engagement, the way that the algorithm works is that let's say today's post doesn't get a lot of engagement, tomorrow's post get a ton of engagement. So the algorithm will reward you by trying to help repush, right, that post that didn't get a lot of engagement and maybe pushing it to new followers or new viewers, for example. So just unless it doesn't align, you realize like, oh, I should have never posted that because maybe it is too cringe or maybe it doesn't really align with who you are, the type of message that you want to put out, then okay. But if it's just because it didn't perform well out the gate, leave it, don't delete it, just move on and focus on the next one.
Okay, so suggested tools and apps. Surprise, surprise, Canva. We talk about it in almost every one of our classes, no matter what class we're doing. So those are going to be design and templates. And if you have not already, definitely upgrade to Pro. I believe if you sign up for the year, you save almost 30 something percent and you'll never look back. I promise you that. So schedulers. So these are ones that you can put your posts in there and it does it. So if you're one that needs to time block one time a week to create all of your content and then just be done with it, these apps or tools are going to help you. So later.com, I don't know how to say it,
Planoly.
Planoly, Trello, Buffer, Metricool, and Meta Business Suite. So any of those can help. There's probably a ton more out there. So, Reels editing. So CapCut, I actually signed up for CapCut and I used it a couple times. It's pretty simple. UCut, Instagram editor, and InShot. So these are just ones that if you are wanting to get to just in the next level, like you don't have to do this, but if you just want to refine and make your videos a little bit better, these are great options that are super user friendly. Engagement ideas. So AI apps, Answer the Public, Facebook groups, Explore page, Keeping Current Matters, and National Day Calendar. These are all some of my favorites, actually. Like AI apps, Chat GPT. I'm just going to say it. So chat, get in there, talk to chat. If you've been using them for a while or her, whoever she is, whatever it is to you, it will know who you are and help you to create some engagement that relates to you. So, Keeping Current Matters, you don't need to sign up for their paid for, but they have a free blog that you can use that information just to make sure that you're giving them credit. And so, bonus tools, ManyChat, Linktree, and Trial Reels. So, Linktree, everybody's probably seen. It's that, link in bio, and then it pulls up a bunch of different links for people to find like whatever services you offer. And then like ManyChat is going to be like, post later in the chat and then it'll automatically send them something, whatever you've put in there to send them essentially. So those are just some suggested tools and apps just to get you going and not delayed.
The trial reels is something newer, right? That's being tested right now through Instagram still. But basically, if you do a reel, you can download it right before you post it and then re-upload it. So you can post the reel as is on your normal page. And then when you get ready to post it a second time, just toggle where it says trial reel. So it will only share it to non-followers to try to engage people that might be interested in your content. So it's just a way to push your content out to extra people and potentially get you some additional followers, right? And then the one thing we realized we didn't really touch on is the fact that, so when we're talking about all of this, for the most part, we are talking about business accounts, right? And so that question does come up a lot. And so if you have like an Instagram account, should I have a personal and a business account? Now, I only have one account, but I did convert it into a business account. So I will post some personal stuff as well as some business stuff, right? There are some people who have two completely separate. They have their personal for their family and things like that. And then they have their business, which has a lot of business stuff. And then maybe it has some engaging, like networking and stuff like that, but maybe not necessarily like the family photos and things like that. So the biggest thing I can say is that if you're gonna have a business account would be if you plan to run ads. So that is really one of the biggest benefits. There are some additional, like the insights is going to be with a business account. If you're running ads, you can't do that on a personal account, whether it's, Facebook, Instagram, all of the things. Um, and so I do suggest personally having a business account because I do believe in spending minimal ad spend the right way. And so just being able to do that once in a while can help. And then some of the additional tools that they do give you access to, planning tools and things like that, like being able to schedule posts, within the Meta Business Suite, things of that nature, that comes with having a business account. So just some extra tips in that regard if you're debating on what you should do. Maybe you're new to all of this, right? And then, so the last piece, really, so what to do next? We have given you lots of information. Some takeaways that hopefully you grabbed from today's class was the power of using socials for brand exposure and recognition, right? Identifying your avatar, your ideal client, the top social platforms, and kind of curating content that is going to engage and convert, right? Get some leads. And then some time saving tools to just make social media easier for you, whether you're a new user or the savvy user. So The next piece, make sure that you download the social toolkit. It should be right underneath this video, right? So you should see the 90-day content calendar and the marketing templates. Those are in one document. So it is one Excel spreadsheet with two different tabs at the bottom. So you're going to see the Canva marketing templates. You're going to click each one and it'll prompt you to make a copy in your Canva account. And then you'll see that 90-day content calendar worksheet. You're welcome to, right, like duplicate that if you want to break it out into two different documents. Completely up to you, but that's going to be together in one when you download it. And then the 25 caption starters, right? That's PDF printout. And then the 100 call to actions, that one's actually also going to be a spreadsheet. They're going to be all listed out for you. So just grab all of that and minimally just start your next 7 days of content. We're giving you a 90-day content calendar, but just focus on the next week, right? And then stay connected with us. Obviously, subscribe to our monthly newsletter. We want to encourage you and invite you to join our free real estate operations community on Facebook, where we do share regular extra tips, hacks, strategies to move your business forward, help you get into the right mindset, right? And get actionable tools and systems and strategies that you can use to improve and excel your business. And then lastly, we want to also invite you to become an ops insider. You'll get a follow-up email at some point that explains a little bit more about that. But that is our private community. It's literally like $12.99 a month where you're able to join in our conversations. You get access to stuff like this, right? Full templates for all of the things that you could possibly need, an entire kind of resource drive that you get access to, some exclusive masterminds that we do for that community, monthly challenges to kind of just help you within your business goals. And so just stay tuned for more information on that. And then when you do get posting, please go ahead and tag us when you use the templates or use the captions. We'd love to be able to cheer you on and just encourage you in your social media efforts. Remember, success takes consistency. So it's not about necessarily going viral. It's about being consistent on your social pages. That's long term what's going to get you engagement and it's going to get you leads.
Yes. And we just want to thank you all for showing up for yourselves and showing up for us. You're what builds our community. So thank you again. And just a reminder, Josie already said it, stay connected to us. If this is something you enjoyed, make sure you are subscribing to our newsletter because we give a bunch of freebies in there every month. So we look forward to seeing you in the community.
Absolutely. If you need us, you can email us at opscoaches@gmail.com. So if you have any questions on the templates or using any of the resources that we've shared, please go ahead and reach out. We are always happy to connect with fellow agents and ops leaders, right? And then you can check out our website at therealestateoperationsinstitute.com. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and we hope to see you soon.